So, yet again, we had another cop that murdered somebody and got away with it and gets to walk. And what happens? He gets fired. Let me tell you something about when it comes to police. They don't get fired, they get put in a new department. They move one county over and get rehired. So basically, no punishment. Free to go. Because the officer used the classic excuse, I feared for my life. It's literally what they use in here. Because that's all you have to do as an officer. It doesn't even have to, you don't have to justify that that was a rational response. Unless you're a citizen, then you do. Even if it is rational, you still go to jail. But if you're an officer, don't matter. Just say that. So I brought up the Ryan Whitaker shooting a couple times. I tended to forget the name because there's a lot of names. I'm not good with names. But now we finally got a resolution to that. And as we can see, no charges filed against the officer who killed him. Who murdered him because he shot him in the back when he was complying. So see, even when you comply with officers, it doesn't matter. All the people go, just comply and nothing will happen. Yeah, okay. Sure. Maricopa County Attorney Alistair Adel announced that she would not be pursuing any criminal charges against the officer who shot and killed Whitaker. Are you serious? I'm pretty sure I can't show you the video here, but basically, cops got a call about a noise complaint. He was playing games with his girlfriend. He comes to answer the door with his gun because someone knocks on the door at 3 a.m. and they don't announce who they are. Yeah, I'd answer the door with a gun too. The officer tells him, put the gun down. He puts one hand up and the other hand kneel down to put the gun on the floor. An officer shoots him twice in the back. I believe he fired 3 shots, and then 2 hit him in the back. And then while he's bleeding there, when his girlfriend sees what happens and reasonably starts freaking out, the officer's just like, relax. Relax. He just killed a dude. And that's his response. Yeah, that sounds like someone who feared for their life, right? Okay, sure. Alright. Shortly after the body cam was made public, Whitaker's family demanded accountability on the part of the Phoenix Police Department, and they wanted to see the officer Cook arrested and charged with murder. So yeah, he should be charged with second-degree murder. And then this is the victim's brother talking, where he nails it just right. Where he says, you can do everything right and still lose your life. And someone's not going to be held accountable because they have a badge, and they say they fear for their life. And I think it's even worse than that, because some people are not only not going to be held accountable, they're going to be excused. You're going to have people who will excuse them. And I'm talking, that's specifically targeted towards the right, because they're the ones who bootlick nonstop. They'll love to bring up the talking point, more white people are unjustly killed by police, and then shit like this happens, and they don't say shit. This has been my major problem, small tangent, but this has been my major problem with people on the right and like the White Lives Matter, the All Lives Matter crowd. Because they're never consistent when they say it. They always like to bring up the talking point, more white people are shot by police, right? But notice when they only bring it up when it's relative to what black people are saying. Then when this shit actually happens to white people, they're gone. I don't hear shit from them, right? They'll list that talking point off all day and night. They'll scream White Lives Matter in response to Black Lives Matter and, you know, All Lives Matter all day and night. But then as soon as you got a situation like this, they are dead quiet. I watch a lot of people on the right. I've seen one person cover this. One. But you better believe, nigga gets shot by police. What do you think everyone on the right's gonna do? They're gonna do their mental gymnastics to justify that shit. And then when it's a white dude getting shot, they're just gonna pretend that didn't happen. Because they have to bootlick. They have a hard-on for police and they can't let it go. The problem is, this is the majority of the country, and until something happens, we're not gonna get any police reform. That's the thing. Because the main demographic that ignores police brutality is the majority of the country. So you're not gonna have much change until that majority gets really loud. So this shit's gonna keep happening. Because we already know when niggas bring it up, they ain't gonna say shit. They're just gonna be like, here's a bench, niggas, shut up. Here's a street sign. They even did it with the guy, the white dude that, I forget his name, who stopped the mass shooting. They gave him a fucking plaque. And that community was like, they didn't even bring up the fact that he's not dead because of stopping the mass shooting. He's dead because of an idiot officer. And then we had the Hunter Biden case where there were actual protests. And again, nobody on the right covered those protests. Even though that would have been helpful. They didn't. Because they don't care when you get shot. Because they can't really even say all lives matter. Because they really don't. Not to them. Anyway. And then it gets worse. Adele said the videos from the body cams were reviewed side by side and frame by frame by investigators, including an outside expert brought in by the Phoenix Police Department. When reviewing the body-worn camera evidence, it always is important to realize that the evidence is extremely useful in determining what happened. Due to the placement of the camera on the officer and how the camera works and recorded data is compressed, these systems cannot provide us with the actual experience of the officer living the event. So even though we saw everything what happened, it's how he feels. That's what that means. So yeah, we saw it wasn't justified, but the officer felt like his life was in danger, so we're gonna let that shit slide. That's how it works. That's all they have to do. I fear for my life. Now I can do whatever the hell I want to. If they want to be really tricky with it, they'll set you up. And if you want to know what a setup is, you should look up the Willie McCoy case. That was a setup. Like, if they really want to kill you, they're gonna try to make you. They're gonna try to make you do something that will give them an excuse. What was it? Daniel Shaver was another case where it was set up. They wanted to kill him. They just had to make sure they got the right excuse. Her statement goes on, I note all this because I want to be clear that this case was closely analyzed and studied. Translation, we investigated ourselves and found we did nothing wrong. That's what that means. She went on to say that while the video shows Whitaker moving to point down his gun, it does not provide insight into what Officer Cook reasonably perceived and believed was occurring in the moment he made the decision. He had one hand up and he was going down, the gun was aimed down, dude. How is that reasonable? This is what I don't get. As soon as they say I fear for my, everything after that, everyone sees, oh, I guess that was reasonable. That doesn't apply to citizens, though. Interesting how that works. Right? California, if someone breaks into my house and I shoot them, I'll still get arrested. It doesn't matter if I fear for my life. Or I had reason, but even if they attack you, you can still get arrested in California. But officers can do whatever the fuck they want to you. And people just keep letting the shit slide. More so on the right, which is why I get more frustrated with them. Based on the facts and evidence, Officer Cook was responding to what he's told was an active domestic violence call inside the home. Adele said in her statement, Officer Cook made the decision based on the information he had. The original complaint was a noise complaint. He could do no more. Based on what he knew, I can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that his decision to use deadly force was an unreasonable one. I want everyone to go watch the video. I don't think I can show it. Because it's kind of brutal, but if anybody thinks that was a reasonable response to what happened, you need to get the boot out of your mouth. In December, the Phoenix City Council unanimously agreed a $3 million settlement for his family. Think about that. Where did that $3 million come from? The taxpayer. So he kills a citizen, and then you pay for it. The cop murders somebody, and then we all pay for it. How does that disincentivize the police to not murder people? You have qualified immunity to protect you from being sued personally. So you won't be held personally accountable. And then we'll pay off anything you've done using the people's money. Okay. Sure. Look at this. The Phoenix Police Department said it will now move forward in finalizing the administrative investigation. Cook is still with the department, but in a non-enforcement position. I believe after this he got fired. But let me ask you this. Why is there a $3 million payout and he's getting fired if he did nothing wrong? They said the claim is he acted within policy. Watch that video and then think about what he said. That was within policy. I don't know any of you fucking clowns. If I hear somebody like those ABL clown, you know, clowns like ABL saying we need citizen reform, not police reform. Okay, sure. I think you're suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Oh, I love this one. I love this excuse. Each day, our men and women in uniform encounter dangerous situations, many resulting in split-second decisions. That's another excuse officers like to use. I had to make a split-second decision when that was not true. In circumstances where a deadly weapon involved, it was his legal right to have that weapon. And you didn't identify yourself when you knocked on the door. He had every right to answer the door with his gun. Our officers try to de-escalate the situation, but must also defend themselves and protect others at risk. Yeah, officers in de-escalation. Yeah, not very often. And this is just like a nice little FU to end on for his family. Anytime there's an officer involved shooting, after an in-depth investigation, the Maricopa County's Attorney's Office makes a charging decision based on the facts. He continued, we recognize these decisions are not easy and any loss of life is a tragedy, but we agree with the decision of the Marconi County Attorney and to not seek criminal charges against the officer in this case. So a big fuck you to his family. And no one's gonna cover this. So nothing's gonna change. This is what's gonna happen. And unfortunately, it's gonna keep happening until more people actually start calling for reform. Unfortunately, because the majority just doesn't care. But also because it's not covered. That's the problem. Because you know the lefty media doesn't give a shit because it was a white dude who got shot. And the right doesn't give a shit because it was a white dude that got shot. And the left doesn't give a shit because it was a white dude that got shot. The media wants to rage bait. White lefties don't give a shit because they can't virtue signal with it. And white conservatives don't care because they can't wield this against the left. That's basically how it goes. Anyway, I guess that's how it's going to be until some people figure it out. So,